Hi, Lynn. How you doing? Just kind of waiting for maybe some other people to jump in on here. It's funny. It actually tells me a thing saying how many people are watching, and it shows zero right now. So I don't know how many people are watching. If you're watching, say hi. I don't see it on my end, but there's supposed to be a banner scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Let me just pop over to YouTube's part of it and look and see if it's actually there or not. I'll be right back. Well, I can't find it over there. Lynn, I'm doing good. Right now, as you probably can tell, I'm outside. I'm at camp. It's kind of funny. We had a beautiful red sunset. They always said red sky at night, sailor's delight. Well, I had everything set up over next to the fire pit where it was nice and warm. Had a nice fire going. It started raining. So I had to come back over here by my camper and set everything back up underneath the awning. It never fails. If it stops raining long enough, maybe I'll drag everything back over there, but I doubt it. Yeah, I don't see anything to do with the banner either. Like, let me check real quick. I might be able to see if I can pull that up. Can I pull it up? Pull it live. No, it's supposed to be a ticker for it. There it goes. Alrighty, that's better. Alright, that is the URL. It's a weird one because it was supposed to be master list of lives.html, and I went to upload that to the website, and it added the PDF to the end of it for some reason, so I had to change the link for it. But that's a fully updated one. I got together with Boots and Bounty, and they hooked me up with their list. They have one heck of a list, and there was quite a few of them on there that were religious only related and stuff. I left those off of the master list because not everybody wants to know about that stuff, and if they do, they probably already watch them. But the list has grown. It's more than one page now, and anybody that has a channel, if I leave you out, just do me a favor and either hop on here and tell people about your channel. The link's in the top descriptions or top of the comments, or send me an email to crownpc@yahoo.com and let me know about your channel, how much a day, the time, and the names of the hosts, because that's what the list is based on. I do have a lot of channels listed on there now that I don't have any names for. Hey, Paul, how we doing, buddy? Thanks for joining in. It's kind of funny. I see everybody joining in from YouTube, which is okay. But I went looking for my link on YouTube and I couldn't find it. And I'm like, well, where did I go? Hey, Brenda, how we doing? All right. So anyway, the URL scrolling across the bottom of the screen, that's where the new, hey, Thunderstick, that's where the new file for the master list of lives resides at. As I've been saying, Boots and Bounty hooked me up with a really big list, and I didn't include all of them from there because there was a lot of them on there that just, if you do a lot of religious channels, then you probably already know about them. If you don't, like me, then you probably wouldn't want to know about them anyway. And it was just taking up a lot of space on the list. The list does give people an idea, though, if they want to start doing lives, of what days and what times are best to pick to do them on. There's a lot of days that are really, really full, like the Homestead Hangout days. They're really, really filling up pretty good. Cattle Kitchen stops at like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock on my end, so that was a long one. I didn't watch that one this time around. Actually, there's quite a few I didn't watch this time around. I'm working on trying to catch up on watching some of my regular channels that I'd like to keep up with. And one of the ones that I like to try to keep up with is Hi Freedom Redbird. It's right there scrolling across the bottom of the screen if you can see it. If you can't, it's dollarseed.com /files / capital M, capital L, capital O, capital L, master list of lives .html.pdf. The master list of lives, each individual word does start with a capital letter. Everything else is in small letters. I could have made them all small. I probably should have, keep it from being so confusing, but being a master list of lives, I wanted to type it out so that it would actually show up as being, this is the master list. So each one of the words comes out with a capital letter. All right, so anyway, this week's been kind of a weird week. Leading into Labor Day weekend, never fails, right? I went out to my wood shop because I had some projects I wanted to get going on. And one of the projects was required the use of my table saw. And lo and behold, it was 1953 Craftsman that had been added on and added onto and added onto. So it had a really huge cast iron table system on it. And I think it was big enough to cut a full sheet of plywood. Well, anyway, I went to cut a small piece of wood on it, and the arbor went bad on it. So I couldn't cut a straight line if it tried. So I had to break down, go to Lowe's, pick up a brand new. Actually, Lynn, it'd be better for you to email me at crownpc@yahoo.com. So I had to break down and go to Lowe's, and I came back home with a DeWalt contractor saw, and I'll tell you, that thing is a sweet saw. That thing is awesome. And then Thursday, I went out to use my chop saw to cut something, and apparently there's a bushing in that keeps it at 90 degrees and doesn't let it wobble at all. And it was wobbling like crazy. I could not cut a straight 90-degree cut on a board, and I'm like, are you serious? So I shut the shop back down, jumped back in my truck, went back to Lowe's, and brought home a brand new DeWalt Contractors chop saw, sliding miter saw. So far I've got over $1,000 invested in new saws in my wood shop. I hope I don't have to buy any more right away because I'm going broke doing that one. 2 in a week was just not planned on. But I got those done. Friday we finished setting the Wednesday we set up the table saw, made sure everything was true on that. And then Friday we set up the new chop saw, and that took some doing because the bench that I had made for my other chop saw actually used the top of the bench as being the sides for it, so you could run a really, really long board through the thing. And it basically sat on the bench, and the saw was down lower than the bench, so everything sat flush. Well, this new one would not fit in that hole. It's probably a good 10 inches wider than the original one was. So I told my employee Jimmy, I says, you know what, let's just set it up on top of the bench, bolt it down to the top of the bench, and we'll just build new wings out to give the board support. So we got that done. The one thing I don't have on now that I did have on my other one was the other one had had on the fence, it had a T-track with a stop block, and it had a built-in tape measure that was measured off the blade of the saw, so you knew exactly how far down the board you were going to be moving it and cutting it. That was really handy for me, and we're gonna reinstall that on the opposite side this all this time because my employee wants it on the left rather than on the right. Me, I don't care what side it's on because it's just a stoplight. But it worked out really well. We put a board on the side of one of our benches that we built out there, and it turned out to be that board that we put on the end of that bench was the exact same height as the cutoff wings that we added to the saw. So if you got a super long board, as long as there's nothing on that bench blocking it, it'll fit right in there. Paul, thank you. I appreciate that. So that took a while. It was almost an all day project getting that saw sawed up. I still haven't done the wood project that I wanted to get done. Of course, Labor Day weekend, I'm camping. Can't help it. For those that missed it, we had a beautiful red sunset tonight. Beautiful. Red sky at night, sailor's delight, my butt. It started raining. I just got the fire stoked up. I was sitting next to it, had the computer set up out there, and everything started getting wet. And I'm like, well, this is not even fair. This is not even fair. So I had to bring everything back in under the awning. I don't mind. I spent most of the day sitting right here anyway because the wind up here, for some reason, till the sun starts going down, the wind in this place is wild. It's just all over the place, and it never blows from the same direction ever. I've got a screen tent out here. When I came over here, God, Thursday morning I came over because we have to take care of our own campsite. So I came over, mowed it up, got it weed eated and stuff, and the screen tent was wrecked. So I had to get that back up again. It took some damage, but today that wind was blowing in every direction, every direction. I was like, okay, this better die down before I get ready to go live because my girlfriend's inside watching TV and I'm not doing it in there while she's in there doing that. So I was like, okay, well, the wind better die down. The wind better die down. It died down. It finally started getting nice, peaceful, calm out here. I got the fire stoked up. I ran an extension cord out. I was going to sit next to the fire. It's not exactly hot out here. I think it's like 62 degrees out here right now, maybe a little bit less. I've had this flannel shirt on half the day. Actually, if I could have got into the sun without the wind blowing, I probably would have taken my t-shirt off. It was so hot. But tomorrow's supposed to be really nice. But again, here everything here is just really one of those deals where Paul, I'm going to start yours so it gets up to the top. So, and if anybody else needs to see it, they can. If the wind's blowing really hard again tomorrow, well, it's like supposed to be back in the 90s tomorrow. Then I don't know. I think this is the last year. I was talking it over with my girlfriend. I think this is going to be our last year of being a seasonal camper at any campground. We did a local one called New York State Country Music Park, and they used to do bands every weekend. And every weekend we were there was never a band playing ever. There was always like a private wedding reception or some other private party going on. And it's not what the place was built for. It was made to be a music entertainment hall. Of course, many of you guys know I'm a musician. I actually learned how to play guitar there, so most of it anyway. But those campsites were super small. They cost as much as this one does. This one's super huge. My neighbors to the left of me over here. I know it looks like I'm pointing to my right, but I'm looking at the camera. My neighbors to the left of me, they have two campers that are parked like this, side by side, facing each other. And then they rented the site beside them, close to the one between me and their campers, as a parking spot. That's all they use it for. They park their vehicles there, and they get a lot of vehicles. Today was nuts. I think they had like 7 different trucks and cars in that parking area over there. But and then I got one on the other side of me over here to my right. There has not been anybody in that site yet so far this year that we've been here. And I mean, we're not here every weekend. That's another reason why I told my girlfriend I really don't want to do this seasonal camping thing again because seasonal camping for me right now isn't paying off. I mean, you figure you're paying on $1,300 a year or so per site. Here we pay our own electric bill. Every site has its own electric meter. and then we have to pay them to come dump the trailer. It's only $10 or something like that. The electric bill wasn't bad. The first electric bill for the first 3 months was like $30, so I don't care about that part. But the camper sits here, and it's 20 minutes from my house, but it's almost an hour from where my girlfriend works. And I'm like, if we can get something in town, I may reconsider my thinking. I mean, it won't be Country Music Park again. Those sites are way too small for what they charge. But there's another one right next door to them called Yellow Lantern Campground. It's a KOA campground, and they do have seasonals in there too. My parents used to live there during summer months. I may try to get in over there, but if I do, the camper goes home with us every year anyway. It's wintertime because Country Music Park floods out every year. Yellow Lantern floods out every year. Where I'm at now, this place is on top of a mountain. It'll never flood out ever. And most people that have campers here, they're here all the time. They drop the camper off. They come back at the end of the season. They put a cover over it if they want to, or throw a tarp over it and park it there for the winter. And they don't charge extra for that. Or Country Music Park, if you wanted to park your camper up in the back or the front field, which is higher ground and hardly ever got water, they charge like $350 for the winter storage fee. And I'm like, heck with that. I live out in the middle of a valley that does flood, but the water never gets as far up as my property. So, no, Paul Honeyman, we will not be living in this camper when we move to Arkansas. This camper is only like 16 or 18 feet long. You can't have two people in there at the same time walking around because there's no room to walk. It's very, very small. My intention is that we'll keep this camper for now. We may take it to Arkansas with, as far as I know. Use it as a camper over there, but we won't be living in it. For us, we'll end up buying something bigger to live in while we build a house. That's our goal. I would like to try to find a fifth wheel myself, but that means I have to upgrade my truck as well. And who knows? By the time we get ready to leave, we probably won't want this old truck anymore anyway, and we'll just go buy a new one. And that would change the game. Unfortunately, though, it also adds more expenses to it. I don't know if anybody here knows, but when you move to Arkansas, they run the Kelly Blue Book on your vehicle to find its current value, and you have to pay that tax in the state of Arkansas when you go to register the vehicle. Now, I've already paid all that tax here in New York when I bought the vehicles myself, and I really kind of fear doing that because I got a brand new car that cost me $28,000, and I just finished paying the taxes off on that. So if I take that to Arkansas, I'm going to pay the taxes on that same amount or close to it. It might have some depreciation by then, depending on how long we're looking out. And then if I buy a new truck, well, then I got to pay taxes on that again too. So I don't know. We'll wait and see how that plays out. I would like to have a brand new truck. I will be honest. I don't want anything like what Tim at Ridge Life is getting. That thing is a monster for me. Lynn, I'm not. Believe it or not, that's a good question. No, we've been together for, God, 10 years now. I'm already married, believe it or not. I threw my wife out a long, long time ago. Back in 2012, I threw my wife out of my house. Yeah, Paul, I agree with you on that one. I threw her out of my house back in 2012. And then my brother passed away in 2013, and the seed business was really starting to pick up and kicking my butt. And Leah just happened to be in the neighborhood. We hooked up. She came over, and she seen what all I had going on, and she's like, "Man, I want to help you. You need help." And I'm like, "You're right, I do. I'm hiring people out of my town to work for me and stuff. So we're trucking stuff back and forth every day, and it was getting to be nuts. Plus, I was working a full-time job at the time too, 12-hour days, and so she was there. So if somebody needed something, they could send somebody else out with a car and tell her what they needed, and she'd make sure they got what they were asking for, but not too much of everything because we had so many people working. And she kind of became the stay-home person for that because at that time she was on disability. Now I'm on disability and she's working. Kind of falls twofold on that one. But yeah, I'm still married, and I'm not going to. I won't get a divorce. I I hired a divorce lawyer. It was $3,500, and they told me that half of everything I own would become my wife's, even though most of it was earned or even created after or before we got together. And we're talking, $40,000 in a retirement account. Half of that has to be paid to her direct. Well, if I take $20,000 out to give to her, then I got to pay taxes on that $20,000, which is about 25 to 35%. I wasn't going to do that. I was like, no, she's not touching that. And now I've got the seed business going, and it's doing really good. And there ain't no way she's getting no part of that because she didn't want no part of it when I was doing it at the house when I first started out. So, I mean, I started it in 2010, so she had 2 years with me seeing what I was doing, and she didn't want any part of it. She said it was stupid, and I was an asshole for thinking I could make money doing it, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, got news for her. I now got 8 full-time employees. Um, Plus, I got the print shop now and a bunch of other stuff. So, yeah, there's no way I'd ever agree to give somebody half of everything I owned, especially when my wife never worked a day in her life. I mean, she babysat once in a while for a beer, and that's about as far as she worked. I think she had a job at one time, and they fired her because they called asking her if she was feeling sick, and she answered, "Well, no, I'm feeling too good to work," meaning she was freaking drunk. So, you know, what do you do? She was going through mental issues around me with stuff, and I was just like, she had a fight with my mom. That was the straw that broke the camel's back right there. I told her, I says, get out of my house, don't ever come back. And my mom called the cops, and when the cops showed up, there was a lady cop. She was cute too. I really liked her. But she walked down the sidewalk and she found my wife sitting in front of the local bar, and she sat down next to her on the bench, and she told her, she says, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you go back to Mr. Moffat's house ever, and I find out about it, I'm gonna arrest you. And I'm the one that's going to press charges against you because I'm telling you right now that is trespassing. You are not allowed to go back. And she never came back. Although that lady cop, like I say, she was cute as a button. So when she came back to tell me the conversation and how everything went down with her, I was kind of chuckling about it. And I looked at her and said, "Honey, can I take you out for dinner?" And she's like, "Well, I'm married. I don't care. I'll grab your husband. We'll meet up and we'll all go out for dinner. I'll buy you dinner just for getting her out of my house." So I did. Her husband was a great guy. He was also a cop, so that was pretty cool. Hey, one day at a farmstead, how we doing? But yeah, I took him out for dinner. We had a really good dinner. We sat around and talked for a long time, and it was a good time. The the funny part is she did come back to the house one time with permission to get some of her clothes and stuff with her sister. And when she got there, she went up into the bedroom. Now, mind you, I have cameras everywhere, everywhere. And then in the bedroom, I have a camera that was on a joystick that I could run off the computer. So I could look outside, I could look down into the driveway, I could look over at my neighbor's houses to make sure everything was okay in that area, and I could spin it all the way around, flip the picture over so it was facing right side up, and look all the way through that part of my house. And she got up into the bedroom, and she's just standing there going like this for over half an hour. She finally came back downstairs, nothing in her hands. She got to a china cabinet I had in the living room that was full of her knickknacks, and she walked over and she's looking at it, and all the time, of course, her hands are still right in front of her face, and twiddling her fingers and stuff. And she turned around, she says, "You've got some really nice stuff." And I was like, "You were dumb as a help bag, man. Holy crap, that's your stuff." you know? Well, then she went out back of my house to tell her sister she was all done, ready to leave. And I walked out with her. I didn't want her in through a couple of the rooms in the house that led to the backyard, being unsupervised. Get out to the backyard where her sister was, and her sister's out there playing with the dog. And she's out there, and she goes over and she said, "What's your dog's name?" I said, "Your dog's name is Brute." And she's like, "Oh, well, you've got such a nice dog, and your house is beautiful, and you got so many nice things." And I was like, "Get the fuck out of here." Excuse my French, but that was I told her sister, I said, "Don't bring her back." If she wants her clothes, I'll box them up and I'll drop them off at your house or wherever, but don't bring her back. And she never asked for any of her clothes or anything else. And I left them at the house for close to a year. And I finally said, enough is enough. I sold her dressers. I boxed up all of her clothes. I sold the double bed I had upstairs. I donated her clothes to Goodwill. The bed I did sell to a friend of mine on, and he got it really cheap because they had to pretty much rip the material on it to get it down the stairs. I wasn't going to charge him a bunch of money for it anyway. And I just went out and bought another dresser for myself and a twin bed. It wasn't even a real big twin bed either. It was like a really small twin bed. And threw that into another bedroom that was upstairs that my brother was in before he passed away. And I took my original seed room, which was also my office, and turned that into a storage closet. And then the big bedroom in the front, which was my bedroom, I turned that into the seed house. And for the seed business, that was a big area, had brand new floors in it and the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, yeah, I created roll around walls so we could put seeds on in packets and hang them on pegboards so you could have them all in alphabetical order and stuff. And you could roll the walls around so you could put stuff on both sides. Had all my computers set up there and stuff for printing out labels and all kinds of stuff. And all my main seed storage there was up in that room as well. So it got pretty hectic in 2013, just to say the least. There was actually a time in 2013 where I was getting so frustrated. It was right after Lee and I got together. I was getting so frustrated because I was constantly getting people coming to my house, and I had a stack of cardboard boxes in my living room that made it so you could not watch TV. And I got a hold of a friend of mine. He came over with his truck. We loaded all the cardboard up. He took it back to his place and burned it. And he called me like the next day and he says, "Hey," he says, "nobody wants to rent this trailer." And I was like, "I don't know. Let me come over and look at it." So I went over and I looked at it. My nephew was actually the tenant prior, and they trashed the place big time. And the landlords couldn't afford to fix it up and make it nice and be what it had to be able to rent it out to anybody at a reasonable price. So I told him, I says, "I'll make a deal with you. This is what I will pay you for rent. I pay all my own utilities. You can go in and you can take out the carpeting and stuff like that, and then don't do anything else. Leave the rest of that place up for me." And so I did. I went in there. We put down brand new bedroom carpeting. We went into the living room, put down a brand new cedar floor. We put down brand new carpet in the two front bedrooms. Removed the front bathroom. Turned the front bathroom area into the seed room, seed rolling seed wall area. The first bedroom going down the hallway was the seed storage area where all the packaging happened, and then the last one was my office where all the orders got shipped out from and everything else. And then I kept the master bathroom and master bedroom for myself. Repainted everything, tore the whole kitchen out, put all brand new cabinets into the kitchen, new countertop, the whole 9 yards. I mean, the place was beautiful when I finally decided I couldn't handle living with these people anymore. My wood shop was down in the front of the garage that they added on to, so I would have a place for my wood shop. And he was always constantly in there taking stuff out of my side of the shop or going in there and doing stuff with my tools that I would never approve of anyway. And, coming to my house and taking beer out of my refrigerator while I was at work kind of stuff. And I got fed up. I says, I can't do this anymore. And I went over and I told him, I says, we're going to buy a house. And 4 years ago, 2019, we bought a house. It's a big house. I think it's 2,000 square feet, if any. And it's not big enough. This is funny. It was actually a duplex when we bought it, and it's just not big enough. The upstairs kitchen, the stove we took out and gave to my old landlord to put in his because I bought my own stove for that trailer as well. So we gave him the stove that was upstairs, and I took out the dishwasher because that wasn't any good. And I left all the cabinets, all the counter space, and all that stuff up there. and I turned that room into my office. And then there's what was the only bedroom upstairs. It's not a real big room. That's my music room. And then I went from my music room to the very, very front, which was the original living room upstairs, and that's my print shop. And right now, that's part of the area that's being we're going through and remodeling. But all right, guys, my half hour is up. I'm not going to carry on any longer. I appreciate everybody for coming in, and yeah, taking a man's beer is a shooting offense, Paul. Trust me. I take that literally, man. Especially when I know I've got beer at home and I get home and there's no beer in the refrigerator. He'll take my last one. All right, so anyway, I'm gonna get off of here. Hope you guys all have a good weekend. Enjoy this Labor Day weekend, and hopefully in your area, you guys all have some pretty decent weather for the rest of the weekend as well. Talk to you later. Stay safe, everybody.